I'm with Andrew and Giles Greenhoff. Hi, guys.
Hi.
Hi. Now, we're here to talk about your girls, Margie and Ruby, who, I mean, you haven't seen for 2 years now. So I really want to tell this story and catch people's attention and go, help, because, and sadly, you are not unique. There are people all over the world with their dogs having been stolen. So let's tell their story and hope we can get as many dogs home as possible, but certainly that we can get your girls home. So take me back to the 23rd. Let's go to the day before they went. What was life like with your girls, with Margie and Ruby?
They were our world. They were everything. They are our babies.
Yes.
And yes, everything was about them really. And I remember that day, the 23rd of June 2021. I remember it vividly. We took them for a walk. We came home, and I had a really busy day at work, and they were with me in my office all day. And then in the evening, we sat down to watch some TV. And I remember Margie coming up to me. She has a favourite ball, and she brought her ball to me. I'd already had a little play with her whilst in the evening, and then we sat down to watch TV, and she came up with her ball. And I said, Margie, I'm sorry, I'm really, really tired, and I haven't got the energy to play with you. And she dropped her ball and she jumped up on the sofa with us. Ruby was already on the sofa between us, and she jumped up and she just curled up and went to sleep. And I wish I'd played with her.
I know.
I didn't know it was going to be my last chance.
Yeah. I can imagine but that's life. You can't physically play every time they want to play. You can't. But I imagine, I can really imagine that you've beaten yourself up about that out of all proportion. But it's one of those things. So I know your dogs were absolutely your worlds, and they were loved and looked after, and they had a wonderful life. I know that they were your world, but you didn't know your world was about to be turned upside down. So now let's go to the horrible day, the 24th of June, 2021. So tell me, because obviously you woke up expecting it to be just an ordinary day. What happened?
So we went for our normal walk in the morning, and we took them up the hill and around. We live on a farm, so we just walked around the fields in the farm. And then they did what they always do at the end of our walk, which ends up behind my office, and they ran off towards the wood, which my office is sort of in the entrance of the wood, and they did that every morning. And then they'd go into a little area which is quite new woodland, and normally within 10 minutes they were back at my office asking to come in, and 10 minutes later they hadn't appeared, and we left it a little bit, and then it's like, well, where are they? So they were wearing GPS trackers, so that we knew where they were at all times. And GPS trackers, they have what's called a virtual fence. So if they leave that area, then our phones give us a ping, and that was the point where one of us, normally Giles, would go and retrieve them and say, come back home. But there was no ping or anything to say that. So we thought, well, they're not that far away. And so Giles went to look for them, and there was no sign of them. And the trackers had suddenly gone, no signal. And there's three reasons why there would be no signal. One is that the battery had run out. Well, they'd only just had the batteries changed, so they were at 90-something%. Or that they've gone to ground, or that the trackers have been turned off. So we did the logical thing and thought, well, they must they must have gone down a hole.
Yes, of course.
So,
Yeah, terriers.
yeah. And so we spent 3 weeks. I had completely forgotten that when Giles was in his early 20s, he worked for something called International Rescue, and which trained in search and rescue. So I had completely forgotten that he was trained in this, and his training it clicked in like that. He was just like, right, this is what we have to do, and he was amazing.
Yeah.
And so we he started looking for them
Yeah.
underground. Dog Lost, we registered them with Dog Lost, and Dog Lost are amazing. They immediately my contact, who's still my contact, got in touch and gave us lots of advice, which actually Giles, so talking about, I mean, she said to put a hose down, but we have microphones. So Giles got a drum microphone which does low frequency stuff. He put it on chimney rods, and he stuck it down every hole. Well, actually, I guess the first thing we did was the area that the trackers said that they were in. He got the mower out and he mowed that entire area.
Oh.
We got a team of friends in, and they we kind of formed a line like you see them like at the police things, and we went through with sticks and we banged and we looked for every single hole. Well, the area that they were in, there were really no holes. There were a few, because it's quite new woodland.
Yeah.
There were a few very small holes that weren't even big enough to take one terrier, let alone two. But Giles, we've got a neighbour who has a mini digger, so we rang him up. He brought his digger down, and they dug out all of those holes, and there was nothing in them, absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
They obviously weren't used.
Oh.
We then widened the search, thinking, well, maybe the trackers were wrong. So another neighbour had literally just bought an 8-ton digger, so he kindly lent us his new digger. And dug out some of the bigger holes that were there, and there was nothing. Dog Lost put us in touch with Cornwall search dogs. They came down on the second day.
Yeah.
But they've been missing, and Lexi, the tracker dog, just kept coming back to almost exactly the same space where the trackers had said that was their last vacation, and there was nothing there. Absolutely, there wasn't a hole. There was nothing in that area. Then the next day we got the local hunt out with their dogs, and they searched, and they came down, and Nigel said, "They're not here. They've been stolen." And we looked at him and went, "That doesn't happen." That's so he said, well, I can come back tomorrow with a fresh team of dogs, but I really don't think they're here. And so he did. He kind of came back the next day with a fresh team of dogs.
Yeah.
And again, absolutely nothing.
Wow. That moment, when that first time that somebody said to you, they've been stolen, or I think they've been stolen, that must have been a real horrible revelation to you, mustn't it? Because we don't think about our dogs being stolen. Normally it just doesn't impinge upon us, because it's such a horrible crime. It wouldn't even occur to you to steal a dog. That's just so horrible. It's not what you think about, is it?
No. I think this was the thing that kind of freaked us out. Was all of this took place about 40 meters away from Andrew's office. That's the thing. So it was never a case of they were half a mile away running down a track or something.
Yes.
You could think, well, somebody found them, somebody picked them up. It was 40. You could look out the window now, and I can see where the tracker location was. So it just didn't seem to be on the radar that anybody would do that. And also, you put your resources into what you can do. So from that point of view, looking for them on site was the primary thing that we could do. So you focus on that, you do that, and you didn't, you kind of didn't think there was necessarily the support out there to go into that. Well, if they have been stolen, what the hell do we do?
Yeah.
At the moment we're digging, we're looking, we've got cameras down holes, we've got microphones down holes, we've got, that's something we can do.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it never, it is still utterly beyond me how anybody can think it's okay to steal a sentient being.
Yes. Yeah.
That is something I just don't get, how anybody can be so cruel.
Yeah.
To the dogs as much as anything else.
It's easy money.
Yeah.
But but you have to have zero empathy.
Yes.
To think that is okay.
Yeah.
To do
yeah.
that.
Absolutely.
And so it was just I had heard that dogs were stolen, but I kind of thought it was a very, very rare thing. And how wrong was I? Now that then we're living in this horrible world, and I see dogs stolen every single day. Still now, when the price of dogs has dropped, when the rescue centres are overflowing and can't take more dogs in, still see dogs stolen every single day.
Yeah, it's something like 8 dogs are stolen every day, isn't it? It's just like that.
Well, but I always think that's the official figures. So that's the people who've got crime numbers, and we were very fortunate that we got a crime number. So our dogs are part of those statistics. Yeah. But so many people don't get crime numbers because the police don't really want to know. They haven't got time. They haven't got the resources. So they don't want that. If a dog is stolen from a house burglary, it becomes a house burglary as opposed to a dog theft. So they're not included in those stats.
Right.
So whilst the official figures are 8 dogs a day, I dread to think what the actual figures are.
It's not. Oh my goodness! I didn't realize. In my innocence, I thought if a dog was stolen from a burglary, it would still be classed as dog theft. Oh my goodness, that's a
no. I mean, this is a huge part of the problem: is that the police don't necessarily separate dog theft out from other theft. It's just a lot of it goes under the auspices, the theft, without actually being specified. So to get reliable stats is really quite hard.
We've been incredibly lucky, and if your dog is stolen, it's absolutely essential that you bombard your local police to get a crime number. Otherwise, nothing will come off the back of that. We were so lucky. Devon and Cornwall police have been incredible. Good. We've come across a number of police constabularies across the country in the process of trying to find the girls who have been next to useless. But Devon and Cornwall have been astoundingly good. We've been appointed a case officer. They've taken it as seriously as any crime. And it's really important to say that.
Yes. Oh, yes. Yeah.
But it's not that's not the uniform reaction across the country.
Yeah.
Yes.
Having dealt with some constabularies where you're just, and also there's this, and this is just an issue with police constabularies full stop. I think we all get carried away by, watching telly and the Welsh constabulary talk to, the Met, and the Met go here and whatever. That doesn't happen. They just do not, you cannot progress from one constabulary to another unless you have a crime number. They just, and I get it, because they're like, we can't do anything. Our hands are tied unless you have this crime number, so unless you get that crime number, you are absolutely stuffed. You have to get that. And they, so you have to really, get away, badger away at them to make sure, insist on having one. Yeah. And also this is where, Dogs Lost are fantastic at helping.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I imagine, you kind of shock sets in and disbelief. And, and I mean, for example, my experience with crime, I had somebody open the door of my car and took my purse, and I sort of shied away from, mugged or carjacked or whatever you want to call it. It was just, I couldn't put any words to it. It was like, well, no, I didn't recognize it as being, the crime that we describe it as. And I think we're kind of good as humans at going, right, I'm going to block that out. I'm going to not call it that. I'm going to not label it, and then I can cope with it. It's fine. But no, it's, oh my goodness. I just, it's appalling. And I think every single person out there who loves a dog should be horrified by this. We should mobilise and we should do something about it, because every single one of us that loves a dog, look at your dog now and their trusting little face, looking at you, trusting in you, relying on you to keep them safe. You need to take action and make sure they are safe. And we do these things. We're sold microchips very effectively, and by law we have to microchip them. We should demand the service. If nothing else, if the heartache doesn't persuade dog owners, then you've paid for a service you're not getting. You've been sold a service.
The whole microchip system is flawed.
Yes.
At step one. It breaks down at step one. And I think it's a really important message to get across to pet owners, who've got their animals microchip. There is no, there's genuinely no joined up database.
There are
when you take your dog to the vet.
Databases.
Wow.
When you take your dog to the vet and they scan it, or if indeed they do scan it, all they're doing 99% of the time is checking that the chip is in place and it's transponding it. It's responding to the scanner. And then they'll probably, hopefully, check that against their records on their computer. They're not checking it against the national database. So even if you have marked your dog up as stolen, it's not going to happen. They are not going to do it. And that's not and this is really important to say, this is not the vet's fault. It takes 45 minutes, 2 hours sometimes to troll through all of the databases that are there for somebody to find it. Now, when your dog is picked up by the dog warden, that's his job or her job, and they will do that. That's what they have to do. But vets haven't got the time to do that. And then the other issue with it as well, which again, it's a horrible problem for the vets. Some 6'2" tattooed bloke standing in front of your vet nurse, and your vet nurse has just turned around and said, "This dog's flag stolen." What do you do? So it's really not joined up at all, and there needs to be at least there should be something forced that when a dog does turn up and is presented to a vet for the first time, then there should be a law to state that it has to be checked at that first point of contact against the databases.
What I don't understand, it was actually my husband who highlighted this fact, is like, I get notifications if I try to sign into social media on my blooming, tablet instead of my phone. Ping. I've got a notification. Oh, I've got the location, the time, all this information. Why is this? If nothing else, you own the microchips. That the microchips are your property. Why aren't the microchips notifying you? They've been scanned somewhere. Why is that system?
Well, I have moved Margie and Ruby to petdatabase.com, which is one of the 22 things, who do ping me. So I have checked. I mean, I can't. The only people who can see the details are vets and dog wardens and rescue centres. So nobody else can check your details for data protection, obviously. But I have put in our Margie and Ruby's chip numbers into the checker chip. There's something called checker chip. And I get a ping to say that somebody's put my chip numbers in. And as far as I'm aware, that is the only database that does that.
Yeah.
So I've done it, and I have got that ping. I've had an email and a text message to tell me that somebody has looked at Margie's chip. It was Margie that I did the test on, and so that's amazing to know that, even if they haven't at that point gone on and found which database and checked it, at which point the database will know who checked the dog.
Yeah. Yeah.
But at least if the chips are scanned, which sadly they haven't been, then and sorry, not just scanned, but then checked. They may well have been scanned. We wouldn't have a clue whether they've been scanned or not. But nobody has checked to see which database those chips are on. Yeah. But the other thing, which frightens the life out of me, is so many chips are removed.
Yeah,
which is just the most horrific thought. But I know people who have dogs who've had their chips removed, and I know people who have dogs who have got chips in that don't belong to the dog, because it's a different breed. So not only do they remove them, but they also sometimes put other chips in, and that terrifies me, because I think maybe Margie and Ruby haven't even got their chips anymore. Maybe they got somebody else's chips.
I think,
or maybe they've just got no chips at all. I mean, you see dogs all the time that have been found and it says not chipped. And of course, it's been law to chip your dogs for a long time. And you just think, well, had they had that chip removed?
Yeah.
You just don't know.
No.
The technology to be able to improve the whole system is very, very basic. There just needs to be legislation to say this is the technology that needs to be adopted. So it's very, very easy. It would be, it's really basic technology to have a scanner that can Bluetooth to a module which has the information from the databases downloaded to it every 24 hours. I mean, that's really, really, really basic technology. It could be, produced and made tomorrow. But again, legislation needs to be put in place to enforce that vets adopt that. So that would be the case that whenever a dog is chipped, and Angela's absolutely right, chips get removed, chips get changed. But at least that would be going a long, long way to identifying, instantly at that moment, that dog is, stolen or missing. So again, that's legislation. I don't think it's happening. Nobody's really thought it through, because nobody really does who are in control. And I think the other issue with it is that, so it does flag up. It says it's stolen. The vets themselves need to have something in place which is going to for identification, which will mean some form of CCTV inside the veterinary practice or in the car park or something along the lines of that. So at least you can grab a, number plate, or at least a facial, image, possibly. So, so all of that is a big investment and a big cost for the vets, but the only way that's going to be adopted is if it's made law.
Yes.
And that's the problem. And I'm sure the vets will come back and lobby, et cetera, and whatever. But, actually, I don't know. I think most vets would actually agree. Would agree with that. They probably they recognise the problem, and I think anything that's in place to make it easier for them would be a step in the right direction. But
there are, of course, other things. And now, I mean, firstly, the DNA database, which I think is something from, is it Dorset Police who set that up? And I would never have a dog again now that is not on the DNA database, because they're
you can't remove the DNA.
We are at the moment following up. There were 2 dead dogs found dumped in a fishing lake in a lake not too far from us. The RSPCA got involved. I saw it. Unfortunately, we couldn't rule them out. Giles, I haven't even seen the pictures. I'm told the pictures are not very nice, Giles. So the RSPC sent them to Giles. He saw them, couldn't rule them out. He and our neighbour, who knows Margie and Ruby obviously very well, and is also a surgeon, they went up and had to remove a femur from one of the dead dogs, and they sent it to a DNA company. But of course, we haven't got their DNA, so now we've got DNA from Ruby's mother, which has been compared against this DNA. So and I think if they'd been on the DNA database, we would have their DNA, and it would have been really, really easy to check the DNA. But we're having to go through this whole process, which I think which is taking a lot of time.
I think the circumstances that we're using are incredibly extreme. But I think the DNA database is great from the point of view of, I think if you were in a court or something along the lines of that, having to argue that is my dog, and the other person saying no, it's not my dog, then you could then take DNA and turn around and say yes, it is my dog. or either way,
Yeah.
So I think there's scope for that. And then of course there's smart snout, which is it still seems to be developing, but that's the idea that you take a photograph of the dog's nose. It's like a fingerprint.
Yeah.
And you can take a photograph of it and it can map the dog's nose.
Yeah.
And that's a very flexible item because, you can have it on your phone. You can just take a picture of the dog's nose anywhere, et cetera, et cetera. That's is
that's
out
an app
there.
for download, which at the moment is free to download because they want a big as data space as possible, because they're trying to do that thing with that facial recognition thing that you can do with humans. They're trying to do that with dogs as well, so that it's all within the app.
So technology is being adopted. It's just a shame that the only legislated technology is stuck in the dark ages, and it's catching up. So it's a big problem.
Yeah. I really want everybody who hears or watches this to, take your story to heart. And if you see a Norfolk Terrier or two Norfolk Terriers, they may still be together. We just don't know. And that's part of the nightmare for you, I know. If you see a Norfolk Terrier, or if you know someone who's adopted a Norfolk Terrier recently or bought a Norfolk Terrier recently, please, let's try and get your girls home, because I know it's like a nightmare and it's constant and it's just this limbo you're caught in, isn't it? And you can't go on you can't get back to normal.
No, our world has stopped. It's all about Margie and Ruby, everything. I feel like I'm going through the motions. I get up every day and I say to myself, please let today be the day that Margie and Ruby come home. And I go to bed every night and think, today wasn't the day, but maybe tomorrow will be the day. And it's just, it's been a long time and I find myself saying to Giles all the time, when Margie and Ruby are home, we can do this, we can do that. But until they're home, then I don't want to do any. Just
no.
You don't know. And a little bit of me thinks maybe they were sold on and they're happy enough and being loved and so on, and so they're okay, and we are living this hell. And then I think, but maybe they're in a cage somewhere, not being cared for, and they're cold and they're hungry and they're thirsty and they're covered in fleas, and you see dogs that have been abandoned that are matted and covered in sores, and you just think, and maybe that's our girls. And that, I can't get that image out of my head.
No, I wouldn't be able to either. I wouldn't. It's torture. It's vile. The people who steal dogs, the people who stole your dogs, I haven't got words that I can even say here for them. I haven't.
I just can't understand how anybody thinks that this is an okay way to make money.
No.
Whatever. No. I mean, come here, steal our cars, steal our TV, steal whatever. But not our babies.
No. That's the thing. And I've said this so many times, they are your children, your babies, not in a fluffy, silly way, in a very real, you are responsible for them, and they hit that part of your heart.
We got them as little babies, and all you want to do is protect them and give them a good life, and you want them to be happy and to have fun, and it is. I have this real nurturing desire to protect them, and I look at their puppy pictures and I think, I didn't keep you safe. My job was to keep you safe, and I didn't do that.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. It's I can't imagine, and it's such a horrible situation to be put in by people for money, just for money.
Yeah,
honestly.
Well, you know, the one that always comes to mind with me is Terry, who was a border terrier who was stolen in 2021, and he was gone for 3 months, and they put up £1,000 reward, finder's fee for him. And they were lucky they were on ITV West Country, and somebody saw it who said, my son's bought that dog, and he was sold for 300 quid.
Wow.
And I like to think that thief is kicking himself, because if he'd waited another couple of days, he could have got £1,000. But I think £300, all of that heartache and all of that misery. Is, you know,
you'd paid that to avoid all of this, wouldn't you? To be honest, you just go, I know.
You never think it's going to be you. Like all of these things, you. And part of me still finds it a little bit unreal. Part of me, even after 2 years and 2 months, part of me still thinks I'm going to wake up and find this was just a nightmare. But like you say, we have met some amazing people on the way, and our admins on our Facebook group. We've got a Facebook group. We're on Twitter and on Instagram. And when we first accepted that they weren't here, and we're very, very sure that they're not here. And so somebody said to me, I posted on Dog Lost Cornwall purely to get the Cornish search dogs out, because that's you get through via Dog Lost. And somebody said to me, you should set up a Facebook group. And neither of us were on social media at that time. So that's been another huge learning curve for us. So I set up a page, actually, because I didn't know the difference between a group and a page. And I remember putting posts and hardly anybody was seeing them. And then I started to think nobody cares. I was looking at other dogs groups and they were getting loads of shares. And I was thinking nobody cares about my little girls. And a little dog called Ted had been found recently. He'd been gone quite a long time, and I happened to see his group. And so I just put a comment under his fan post and said, how do you do this? And the amazing Tina Towers came forward and said, would you like me to help you? And I said, yes, please. And she has been phenomenal. She managed to convert my page into a group. And she has been holding our hands every single step of the way. She just knows what to do. And she's taught me how to use Facebook to start with. And on top of that, when we get a lead, when we get a possible sighting, she's the one who knows what to do. She's always there for us for all of this time, 2 years. She's always been there for me. And now we've got Muddy Paws Crime, who are helping as well, and they're amazing. And you know, they've done so much to, again, with advice, with helping, with dealing with other police forces, they've done Facebook Lives for us. They've done lots. We've been so lucky, and we've had some other admins along the way. Giles's niece runs Instagram for us, because I still haven't a clue about Instagram. It's utterly beyond me. I do Twitter. And a lovely chap, actually, he's British, but he lives in Thailand, and he saw one of the things, and he's taught me how to use Twitter. Because he was like, you need to do this, that, and the other thing. And I was like, okay. So we've been so lucky, and we've got 4.4 thousand people. Sorry, 4,400 people in our group, our team, Margie and Ruby, as we call them, and the kindness. The kindness of the things that people have done for us is just, it humbles me. How people who don't know us at all can do so much to help us.
I'm glad that you have encountered that outpouring of love and compassion, because it kind of restores your faith in human nature, doesn't it? That, you know, we've got these two sides to us. There's somebody out there that stole your girls, but there's so many people who are touched by that story and sort of want to hug you in some way. We can't actually be there and hug you, but we can.
99.9% of the world is full of good people.
Yeah.
I
love the fact that you can say that. Oh, bless you. I love the fact, despite everything, you can say that.
And
I think you have to.
Yeah. Well, I think that's down to Team Margie and Ruby and just the kindness of strangers.
Yeah.
You know, who many of whom are now friends, and a lot of them I've never even met, but I consider them friends.
Yeah. So the best thing, anybody watching this that's sort of thinking, how can I help? What's the best thing they can do to help you?
Sharing, getting the word out, looking out for us. We have people have put posters up all over the country. That's Giles's job. He prints posters out, he laminates them, he puts in the post to people, and
sure. So join the group.
Yeah.
That's the starting point, really, and then you keep up to there and just share. It's exponential, isn't it? Facebook and all the all social media. So just one person, compounds it to 100 people, compounds it to 10,000 people. So that's really the starting point on it. And just we've got so many. We have to sort of give out apologies every now and again because people sort of get accosted by these incredible people. Saying, where did you get that Norfolk from? We then have to sort of follow up and go, hello, I heard our team accosted you the other day.
But you know what? They don't mind. They don't mind. Every Norfolk Terrier owner that I've spoken to, and a lot of them have messaged me to say, somebody came up and asked me about my dogs the other day, and I said, are you asking for Margie and Ruby? And they said yes, and they, and they don't mind at all because they just say, we could be in your shoes.
Absolutely.
And if it was us, we would want to be asked. Yeah. We would want people to ask for us. So.
Yeah, I was thinking that every right-minded person will be, sort of, a genuine owner is what I mean. It sort of will not mind. They'll understand, they'll empathise and think, I don't mind, check me out. Ask me if we can get the girls back. Yeah. And
I think it's so difficult to draw a line between having a normal sort of traditional relationship with your dog, i.e. throw a stick, let it run on the beach, let it do whatever, and then fall into an overprotective, sort of envelope of not letting the dog, of being scared of owning your dog, of being scared of losing the dog through theft. It's difficult to draw that line, and I think I think there needs to be an increased level of vigilance with because it does happen. There has been an increase. It was crazy during lockdown, but you still got to enjoy your dog, and you still got to it's kind of, yes, be more vigilant, but not to the cost of not having a good, healthy relationship with, an interaction between you and your dog.
Yeah. I've fallen into that abyss actually, Giles, because very early on, I think it was 2006, we'd only just started Dogcast in 2005, and I interviewed Debbie Matthews, whose Yorkshire, her, whose Yorkshire Terriers were stolen from her car in a Marks and Spencer's car park. And she was very lucky. Her dad was Bruce Forsyth, and she got her dogs back, but she was horrified, I know, by encountering how little the microchip actually counted for, that the police at that point didn't want to give a crime number for the dogs. They gave it because the car was damaged, and a lot of things. But that was in 2006. As we were talking, I was thinking, oh my goodness, 17 years down the line, if my maths are right, 17 years down the line, we're still having the same blooming conversations about, well, the problem is this, and it's still the same problem.
I know Debbie Matthews is lobbying so hard, and we thought she was getting somewhere with the kept animals bill and the pet abduction. It didn't include chips and the compulsory check the chip on first presentation at a vet. And the government have just thrown it out. Is it's devastating to me that they've done that. And there are petitions. There's one by Daniel Allen that's reasonably recently, and that is to bring in the pet abduction fence, but whether the government will listen. I mean, at the moment, I think it's 30,000 signatures, so the government have to respond, but 100,000 they have to debate it. So I'm really hoping that it's going to get that 100,000. But the last debate they had, I listened to it and I was inspired and full of hope, because the people in that committee were all very positive. And then it went to government and it's been thrown out.
So, it was soul destroying listening to that. There were, there were, I don't there were experts in there and there were MPs in there and they were all so positive. And then it went to the minister and the minister just came back with BS. Thanks very much for that. You just knew from that moment, as soon as the minister, he just and you just thought, that's it, that's not going anywhere. There is I actually petitions are great and fantastic, but they don't affect. You'll be amazed the impact that a few letters to your actual MP will have. It's on a much more individual basis, and if you have got a ever so slightly proactive MP, 20, 30, 40 letters arriving in their mailbox, affects them more than the petitions, and it then has to be debated. So it's a really good idea to do a little bit of do what MPs used to do, or go to your MP with what we used to do, which is like, this isn't happening. Can you do something about it?
SAMPA does have a template letter, the Stolen Animal and Pets Alliance, Debbie Matthews, they have a template letter on their website that you can print out or personalise and sign it and send it to your MP.
If 10,000 people wrote letters to their MPs, you would see something coming off the back of that, because that's it's much more individual, it's much more personal to that MP. And they do, and again, let's not go into politics, but most MPs are actually trying to do something for their constituents. They genuinely are, Just unfortunately, some things float to the surface, don't they?
I absolutely agree with you. We won't get into politics, because I think we all get into trouble and say things we can't take back. I just want to address, because if there's anybody listening that's thinking, but you weren't with the dogs, they were in your garden, weren't they? Now,
and I think that's the bit which again was such a struggle for us from the point of view of they've been stolen. I mean, they were, the trackers lost contact 30 meters away from where we're sitting now. That's it. So I mean, you can see. I'm looking out of here and I can see where they went missing. That's the thing. But it's so easy, and it's they were adorable, well-trained dogs. So like most adorable, well-trained dogs, if you go, come here, they'll come up. On the collar, pick them up, remove the tracker.
That's the thing. They were so we socialised. They would run up to anybody, anybody, anywhere. They love people, they love other dogs, and so nobody would have had any trouble. If they saw somebody, they'd have run straight over. Hello, what are you doing?
And then if they are then stopped at that moment, it's like, oh, I found them, I was bringing them back. Or it's just kind of like, oh, I was going, it's so easy to then sort of, if you do get caught, you just sort of go, well, there you are. It's like, don't go at me. I'm trying to be nice. And these guys who do it, are pros at what they do.
And I
it's an easy $4,000, isn't it? It was in lockdown.
Yes, I mean, that's something else that had never occurred to me, that was any value in our dogs. You know, it never occurred. I assume people either got a puppy or they went to a rescue centre. It never occurred to me that anybody would actually buy an adult dog, because in my world, nobody sells an adult dog. You get your baby and you bring it up and it's with you for its life. That's the commitment you take on.
Yeah.
When you get it, so
that's the other primary thing that needs to be addressed. I'm glad you mentioned that, because it just doesn't come up. Internet selling sites.
Yeah.
They should, 30 years ago, I guess, I don't know, we stopped selling puppies in a shop window because it was deemed, but now we can sell them online, which in an even less regulated environment. There are these ridiculous rules which are constantly overridden. And in the process of trying to find the girls, I've been to a number of puppy farms and a number of very, very dodgy caravan sites and such like in trying to find our girls. And as a result, we've followed a dog that we think is possibly them on the selling sites. And then you go to investigate, and then you see the same thing. There's this ridiculous claim of the puppies must be seen with the parent, with the mother. So the amount of times you see the same surrogate mother, looking incredibly uncomfortable as it's had puppies pushed underneath it. It's a scam. It's a con. It's really obvious if you know what you're looking for, and nobody acts upon it. And you can present the evidence to the RSPCA. You can present the evidence to trading standards. They just haven't got the resources to do anything about it. The internet selling sites, which frequently, you go on there. This was a completely amazing world to me that I just didn't believe. 3-year-old dog, and it's the old classic story. Our mother's gone into a home, can't care for the dog anymore. We can't care for it, or you see the same story trotted out over and over again. And for the innocent, for the innocent person who just wants to go and buy a dog, who thinks this is the norm, you go along, that's great, and then you meet them in a car park, and whatever. We amazingly the other day we met up with a dog that one of the first dogs we went to go and see, and it was handed to me, and it was a real learning curve to me, and quite a horrible experience really. But I was handed, after 4 hours of waiting, was handed this what could only be described as dying 2-kilogram emaciated dog. And so this was my first exposure to the caravan site setup, everything else, whatever, and stupidly went up there with the moral high ground of, we're not going to fuel the fires. If it's not our dog, we're not going to buy it. Otherwise, it's it's just fueling it, isn't it? There'll be another one. Moral high ground. Came back and went to the RSPCA and just got well, what do you want us to do about it?
And trading standards.
And trading standards, and it's whatever. Standards. So at that point, I just sort of collapsed, thinking, well, hang on a minute, I've left this dog up there. I thought this, and I produced evidence of where it was happening. They're very clever. They do it across, regional boundaries. So so the communication between the forces or the admin groups are very, very difficult to follow up. It's a lot. I won't give away what happens, but anyway, and of course it occurred to me at that point, and subsequently I've come across this now on a number of rescues. It's easier for them to sell a dying, emaciated dog in a lay-by than it is to sell a fit, healthy, jumping up and down dog, because all you want to do is, I've got to rescue the dog. I'm really scared, from the person I'm now buying it from. You buy it and you get away and you try and, so this, it's in their favor to treat dogs appallingly, because it makes selling off them easier. That's who you're dealing with. These are the people you're dealing with, who are selling on internet selling sites. But there's big money in it, so nothing about it. But they should be banned. We banned it in pet shops. This is a explosive version of what we were doing 30 years ago, which we banned.
And of course, it's all linked, the dog theft with puppy farms, the smuggling in of dogs from abroad. You know, it's all linked together.
And
the good news is we did manage to get. This is a bit what I struggle now. We did manage to get her rescued, and I saw her the other day.
Excellent.
This little dog, and she's now on a diet.
Yeah, she's been told she has to go on a diet.
Excellent.
So she came. Well, we didn't realise she came with a broken rib as well. But she's now got the most fantastic home, and
brilliant.
And she was just smiling and happy and living her best life, and that's amazing, because I know Giles, he won't let me go on these things because he says I'm a liability. And he's right, I would be. I'm a little prone to panic and hysteria.
Some of the best of us are, don't worry.
But he'll never forgive himself for leaving her behind. But now it was amazing to see.
Oh, good. I'm glad there was a positive outcome. Oh, bless you both. I just want to, unless is there anything else that you want to say?
Well, there was something I wanted to say earlier, which is now going to be completely out of context. But the other thing that I have never realised is that most stolen dogs just disappear. I had previously kind of thought that if your dog was stolen, it would be, and it does happen, taken off you, or there would be some proof. And actually, I have a list of long-term missing dogs that have been found that I keep for my own personal hope, really. Every time I add another dog to that list, I think that could be us. That could be us. Tomorrow, that could be us. Next month, that could be us. And on that list, I put whether they were known to be stolen or whether they disappeared. And the ones that are known to be stolen, they were lucky that they had CCTV or dash cam footage or something. Because if there isn't, then the dogs just disappear. But the majority of them have just disappeared. Wow. And so that was something that was quite, I don't know, I guess I'd never given it any thought. And, we had no CCTV, we do now. But, horse bolted, and stable. But we do now. There's not an inch of our farm that isn't covered by CCTV now.
I don't blame you at all. I think that's a wise decision. I think you're right, Giles, that we you can become paranoid. And as I say, I have, but also I wanted to say that, but the blame should be very, very firmly with the people that stole the dogs. That I really want to say that whether it, and whatever you can say, whether your dogs were in your garden, on your property, that's that's black and white to me. There's no grey areas there. But whether if you've chosen to put your dog in your car in the right weather, I'm not saying in hot weather or too cold weather, but whatever, we should be able to do it. We don't live in a perfect world. We should be able to do it. But the blame is on the scum that steal them.
Yeah, and not them. And I remember you saying this before about that kind of victim shaming for people who leave their dogs in cars, etc. And when I was in my early 20s, and I lived actually up on Dartmoor, and I used to walk into our village to the village shop with my dog, and I'd tie her up outside the shop, and I'd go in, and then I'd come out again, and it never crossed our minds in those days.
No.
And why can't you do that now?
Yeah.
But you can't. I mean, the odd people still do, but But
I think
it's horrific that you have to worry. And I mean, and this dog Bram, she came everywhere with me. If I went out in the car, she came with me. And as you say, it was hot. She came with me. I left her in the car if she couldn't come in. That's just, she was always with me. And now I'd be scared to leave them at home on their own, let alone in a car or outside a shop.
Yeah. Oh, it's that kind of world we live in. Giles, were you trying to say something there? We were talking.
No, again, I think it's just that kind of, that vigilance idea, and I don't. And I say it's so difficult to draw that line, but obviously, I would not tie my dog up outside the pub, shop, post office. It's. I know it used to happen. There would, it used to be little hooks in the wall where you tied your dog up.
And high
so I mean, so that's sort of vigilant, and I think that's quite right. I certainly think you would be. I think if I saw that, I think I would probably speak to the owner and just say, look, I'm not, but this is, I wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
At the same time, it's just that it's so difficult to draw that line.
Yes. Oh yeah.
I'm trying to sort of get a positive thing out of what's happened to us is vitally important to get that story over there. It's vitally important to have a story about what to do in the event of when your dog does go missing or has been stolen, and it's vitally important to get this message to the powers that be, and to act upon the offence that it is, which we were getting close to, but it seems to have been completely kiboshed just recently. But no matter what happens, if your dog does go missing or stolen, you have to. It's like the golden hour of first aid or the golden hour of any event like that. You need to get it out there instantly, and there are people out there who can do it and will advise you and will help you. I think probably where we kick ourselves more than anywhere was in that sort of golden moment for us. We just focused on the one thing, which was the logical thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's kind of, they're missing around here somewhere.
Yeah.
And I think that's.
Yeah, we missed that. They use the phrase "too hot to handle," and I see dogs that have been stolen and they're straight up on Facebook, and within a few days the dog's been abandoned somewhere, because they are all over social media, and social media is amazing for that. Yes. But unfortunately for us, we didn't do that because, we didn't know anything about social media.
No.
And we were too busy saying no, this wouldn't happen to us.
Oh. But you were doing I feel so sorry for you, because you were doing the right thing. All your instincts, what you could have been kicking yourself saying, and I was sat on Facebook putting messages out and my dogs were down a hole in the garden. It could have gone either way. You can't, I do exactly the same thing, but you can't keep beating yourself up about, you have to find a way through for you. But I kind of think it through and go, right, that was the only decision I could make at the time. I can't keep revisiting. I can't keep beating myself up. And I hope.
I think you are right.
The other one
but I wish we'd taken both tacks on the outset.
Yeah. I think that's the one that. I think the other one that is, and I appreciate its cost and everything else that goes with it, is not so much from the stolen. That there are very, very few things that will stop your dog from being stolen if somebody is determined to take that dog. But certainly the other category of your dog going missing, technology again is there. Trackers are very, very. If you've got a dog that is prone to being, scared or bolting or running off or chasing, trackers at this point can be fantastic bits of kit. They're not. They're not perfect, but there's a cost involved with the ones that work. I would be very. I speak to a lot of people on the tracker front and the technology front, and the only thing I try to really say to people is, the AirTag or the Bluetooth short range technology is flawed. It's not an effective way of finding your dog. You need something that actually operates, receives a GPS signal, and then transmits that location onto the cell phone network. So I'm being careful here not to mention names and bits and pieces, but but the the one that you put to your keys and your phone finds it is absolutely useless at trying to find your dog. So please don't. That's understanding the technology again, something I was completely unaware of until you start investigating and looking into it. And then there is technology if your dog is prone to going to ground. There's a different type of technology. It's all radio transmission, but that enables you to find your dog if it is prone to vanishing down holes. So there is technology out there, and I think that could go a long, long way to
yeah, certainly. I mean, a lot of dogs go missing every single day, who are missing, and there wasn't that thief waiting around the corner, which is what they do. I found a really interesting documentary on Facebook that was made quite a long time ago, where this very brave lady went and met with and interviewed thieves, and they said that's exactly what they go to, places where dogs are walked, and they will hide around a corner, and so a dog off lead will just run around that corner and they'll grab it.
Thank you, because you've been so brave. I've got so much admiration for you, and you've found yourselves in a horrible situation, and I mean, you've risen to the occasion, and you've done so much for your dogs.
What else
I know.
we do?
I know.
And I just think we have no choice. We need to find our girls.
Yes, but sometimes, you see, sometimes you go and beard the dragon in their lair, and that's brave, but sometimes the dragon just turns up on your doorstep and you don't have a choice, and it's still brave. Even if you don't have a choice, it's still brave. Sorry. Since we're emotional anyway, can you tell, I mean, I just want people to appreciate how much your dogs mean to you. And you told me a story about your dogs at the time were Millie and Myrtle, and you were sitting by the river. And I'm really sorry to ask you to tell such an emotional story, but can you tell that story again, please?
The river rages in the winter, and it's quite scary. And I was looking at our little girls, and I said to Giles, if we all fell in the river, who would you rescue first? And he said Millie and Myrtle. And so that's the right answer, because they're more important. They're our children, and they need to be protected. And I'm bigger than them, and I would rather. Sorry, I feel like I haven't told it very well.
No, it's great. It's great. Thank you. And I know you were saying you would prefer that they had kidnapped you rather than your dogs.
Yeah, absolutely. If it was me, then that would be. I would far rather it was been me than it had been them.
Yeah. And Giles, I know you wanted at the time. You said you qualified it. You said it was to do with the conditions in the river, and that Angela would be more likely to survive anyway. It wasn't a horrible decision.
Yeah, but I mean, it's that priority, isn't it? It's the equality that you give to your dog as you do to any member of your family.
Yeah, dogs are family. I get it. Dogs are family. I'm with you.
Yeah, and if you got me out and left the dogs, I'd have been furious. Get them first.
Yeah. No, they live in that part of your heart the way you children do. Thank you so much for being so brave. And I really hope that one day we're doing this interview, telling people how they came home. So, and thanking them for helping get your girls home.
And thank you for helping us.
Yeah.
You're very welcome. You're very welcome.